We have breaking news on day 10 of the search for Nancy Guthrie. The mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie. Joining us now from Arizona is Mark Santia, MS Now investigative reporter. Mark, what is the latest?
Well, we can tell you, according to one law enforcement source, a person is in custody and being questioned right now in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. We do know, again, a person is in custody and being questioned by investigators right now in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. As I should tell you, at this point, we don't know much about that person. We also have not heard any word about Nancy if she's been found. But we do know at this point, one person, according to a law enforcement source, one person is in custody and being questioned in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. We are right now standing about 15 minutes from the border, just to tell you about the radius of this investigation. Earlier today, new video, new pictures were given out to the public, sent out. We really saw this investigation start to pick up steam. We can tell you that FBI agents were in this area near the U.S.-Mexico border here. They were tracking down some leads. They were also across Tucson. We saw FBI agents, Border Patrol, as well as the Pima County Sheriff's deputies in the area around Annie Guthrie's home. Annie Guthrie, the daughter of Nancy, as well as the sister of Savannah. They were in that area. They were talking to residents there. They were going through the brush, looking for any sort of clues, evidence, working together. We saw more than a dozen federal agents as well as local police working there. But again, a major break in this case. Day 10, a person in custody and being questioned by investigators right now. Again, we are being told that by one law enforcement source. This investigation really picking up today when those new images were released, especially that video. Law enforcement sources telling us they expected a flood of calls to come in. We don't at this point know what broke this case, but we know people were calling into the command center. That video of the suspect on the porch on the front area of Nancy's home, that they were able to see that that person had two pairs of gloves on. He did have what appeared to be a gun in his front waistband in a holster there. Approached the house, he was covered, but you could still see things, right? You could see that his eyebrows were very well groomed. They were trimmed. He appeared to have a mustache. So a lot was gleaned from that, as well as the person's gait. And in an earlier post from Savannah Guthrie herself said, someone knows this person. If you really look at it, the law enforcement sources we talked to said, hey, that gait, the movement, the backpack, the clothing, there was enough there to generate some tips, some leads. We can tell you that Pima County Sheriff's Office, as well as the FBI, Border Patrol, the task force officers, they have been working nonstop since Nancy has gone missing 10 days ago, following several leads. We know, again, just talking about the radius, we're about an hour and a half south of Tucson here near the border, the U.S.-Mexico border here. The agents have also been around the Tucson area. But again, at this point, we know a person is in custody. That person is being questioned by law enforcement at this time. We don't have much more than that. We don't know where they were taken into custody. We don't know if there's any connection at this point. We don't know who that person is. We're expecting to learn much more in the coming hours. We still haven't heard if there's a press conference planned. Kash Patel saying earlier, FBI director saying earlier, they were looking at some people of interest, a person of interest, sort of knowing what was about to happen. And the FBI director, correct. We are told, again, a person is in custody, being questioned at this time. Back to you.
Mark, when we see that video today, 10 days after the abduction, it leaves us wondering, why haven't we seen that video earlier, especially if it was going to be so helpful to the investigation as it appears to have been today?
That's a very good question, and that's something we asked law enforcement as well. It appears that there was some technical issues with the camera, with that Nest camera, and that investigators, specifically, this is something the FBI is very good at. FBI agents from Quantico across the country, very good at this sort of technological move. They were able to sort of get in, work with private companies, and access that video. We were told I'm not tech savvy at all. And the way it was explained to me from a law enforcement source is if you're walking on the beach, those footprints, you leave imprints. So even if a camera isn't rolling on you, isn't recording, those prints are in that device. You just have to have the right people sort of get in and extract that. And this morning, they were able to extract those images, the still photos, as well as that video. They got that video out, and hours later, you now have a person in custody. And again, that video, if you look at it, well, it's not color, it's black and white. What does it really show? But it showed so much to investigators, as well as if you knew that person, if you knew the gait of that person, the movement, the eyebrows, the possible mustache, that was enough to have someone pick up the phone and call. And also for investigators, if you look at that video on the front porch area, you see the person, but you also see that archway. Based on that, investigators are able to take that sort of fixed position, look at the suspect, measure the suspect. They can give you the suspect's height, a weight on the ground. You see those tiles, those pavers on the ground right by the front door. Investigators tell me they're able to look at those tiles, take the measurement of those tiles, and then take the shoe, sort of the measurement of the suspect's shoe, figure out a shoe size from there. So much was gleaned from this information. Again, it's a strategic move. We're told that they were able to obtain these this morning. They got those out there to the public for the public's knowledge, but also important, we were told that as much as it was for the public, it was also for the suspect, for the person who possibly was on that porch to say, look, it's closing in. They know who you are. They're moving closer to figuring this out. And the hope is, in many cases, that the suspect, the person, makes a move, hoping to cover their tracks, but really they expose themselves. They make a phone call. They drop a piece of clothing. They just make a move to sort of uncover who they are. They're also able to get a timeline from that. And cell phone dumps, so much information is gleaned from that video. They're also in the neighborhood just sort of doing old-fashioned police work, talking to people. We talked to a resident. She had an FBI agent at her door today. She lived in the area around Annie Guthrie's home. FBI agents came up to the door, asked if there was any surveillance video, if they saw anything. So you had a multiple-pronged investigation. And the investigation, and this is important, this is not a finish line. This is not a finish line because a person is in custody being questioned. This, in a big sense, in a sense, is a start line. They're going to sort of talk, see if they can get any information from the person, and then they work backwards. Where was that person in the days before? Does that person know Nancy, know the family? What connections, what possible connections? So there's so much work to still be done. Again, a person has been detained. That person's being questioned, but at no means is this investigation over. And again, and most important, Nancy still hasn't been found. So we're still waiting to hear any word from investigators on that. But at this point, according to one law enforcement source, a person is in custody and that person is being questioned.
And that is the breaking news of this hour. A person has been detained and is now being questioned in the abduction of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother. Joining our coverage now is Rob D'Amico, MS Now National Security and Intelligence Analyst and former FBI Special Agent. Rob, what is your reading of the situation at this hour?
Well, like Mark said, a person in custody is not the end of this. Obviously, the end of this is finding Nancy. If this person is connected, what part of the connection is this person being questioned? In certain kidnapping rings, when it's an organized ring, they only have people to do certain things. Part of it may be getting the kidnapper. Part of it may be driving a vehicle. And then they're out of where the actual detention of the kidnapped person is. So if they get them, sometimes they may be involved in it, but they don't even understand or know where the person that was kidnapped is. So it depends on what kind of ring this is. It depends on the knowledge of the person. It depends if it's the right person or it's someone that looked like in the video and they had enough other corroborating evidence to bring them into custody, to question them. So it is the start, and it may be a person involved that actually doesn't know the location, which is going to be frustrating in itself. But it would lead to other things when you start, if you took the person in custody and they had a phone and then you start exploiting that phone. So there are many things that can happen with this, but it is something right now.
If the release of that video today did create a break in the case, this break that we might be seeing tonight, what was the delay in releasing that video over the last 10 days? What could that have been about?
I don't think they had the video. I think they, as Mark said, is from what I'm hearing, is they got this video today. Whatever technology they're using, if it was folks back in Quantico, sometimes depending on how they got it, was it in the cloud and they're working with Nest engineers to somehow figure out how to get it from their systems, or was it something in the camera, as Mark had said, that there's images made even when it wasn't transported to the iCloud, and it's resident on the camera. They may not have known it, and just working with the engineers at Nest, the folks back at Quantico were able to capture it, because I believe they released it as soon. I think the only people they showed it to first to see if they knew who it was the family. If the family could recognize that person, then they wouldn't have to go out to the public. If the family looked at it and said, oh, that's so-and-so, I really believe it's so-and-so, they may not have released it because they didn't have to at that point to get that information. But when the family looked at it, from what I heard earlier, was they said, this person's not familiar to us, we don't know them. And then that's when they decided to release it to the public.